everybody. Today I just want to talk about kind of the evolution of where we're at on sheep feeders, because it's that time of the year. Unfortunately, you can see, it's amazing how dry it is. Everything is just burned up. I think in the last 7-8 weeks, I think we've had less than a quarter of an inch. And everything's burned up. We're actually having to start feeding hay this year 5 weeks earlier than what we did last year. So it's definitely one of those pieces where we really weren't planning on it, but I thought there's maybe other parts of the country where people are having to do this because they might be as dry as us. And if you're new into sheep, I figure I may as well give you a couple years worth of experience that we've had. So with sheep, this is our first little sheep feeder that we started off with in the area where I've got chickens now. But we had sheep in here over the winter. We actually kept the sheep with a few chickens that year. But I would feed them square bales of hay in this little feeder. And it was pretty convenient. All I was trying to do was keep the hay out of the weather. So we put a cover on it. Making it so the sheep couldn't crawl on it or walk on it. So that hence the little square or rectangular boards with the rectangular feeder slots. But even then, whenever they had their babies, then the babies would go in there and snuggle up and actually lay on the hay. So while it was a great attempt, and it worked great for the adult sheep, as soon as the babies came, they went in there and actually, did their stuff on the hay, and then the sheep would pull it off because they wouldn't want to eat it, and I can't blame them. I wouldn't want to eat it either. But it's kind of interesting. The animals aren't smart enough to figure out that they shouldn't go number one and number two on their hay. So, failure number one. So now we'll go on to attempt number two. So we're getting ready to walk up here. We've got one of the kids' actual cow, Tip, who just gave birth. She's right here next to the round feeder for cows. And I'll be honest with you, this was my second attempt. I figured, you know what, I'm not going to go buy the square bales. They're expensive. They're just going to get thrown on. We'll just go ahead and overfeed them essentially, because you get between 15 and 18 square bales in a typical round bale. So I said, you know what, we'll just go ahead and try to be more cost effective by actually allowing them to have more hay, knowing they're going to have more access because the slits are obviously bigger. I quickly found out after a few weeks that wasn't going to work, because right now the way the cows have it kind of matted down, you can see, there's a little bit on the outside from the cows, more than anybody'd like, but the sheep would just jump right up into here and they'd crawl right up here and then go eat the center part of the bale. They would never go and just be happy eating the outside. Whereas the cows, it seemed like they're a little bit kind of the same way, except for the only advantage we have for the cows is we can just keep them out of it because they still can't crawl through. So like I said, that only lasted a few weeks, and saw that was going to fail really quick and be miserable. So I'll take you to the next one that we did in the same year. So here's what we did next. So I basically took a gate, an 8-foot gate, put one there, then simulate that I have another one right here, and we just roll the round bale off right into there, and then I just put gates around it because the gates are a lot tighter and it was hard for the animals to crawl in there. That was good and all to a certain extent, except for it was kind of bulky and hard to move around, and I always had a hard time keeping the chains and stuff tight on it. I didn't have a good way to lock them together because, it seemed like even if you tried baling wire and other stuff like that, I just had a hard time with it. And then the gates were down in the hay, and the bottoms of the gates started rusting pretty good. So I said, you know what, we're going to do that. We did that all last year. And we only had to feed hay for, I think, about 3.5 months using those. So we said, well, I guess that's not too bad. Allows the animals still to feed pretty well. Gives us an opportunity, but made a commitment to myself that we were going to find something better for this year. And I'll take you to that right now. But we even went to extensive, I did quite a bit of research looking at YouTube for different people's ideas. I couldn't find anything So I found an actual top of a hay ring, and I was going to weld my own together, you know, using kind of this idea as far as with the different slats, making it tighter and other things. And I thought, boy, that's just, it seems like I'm going through a lot of expense. They have to have something. And I looked at some of the commercially made sheep feeders. And I'll be honest with you, I think what we already tried here on the homestead seemed to be a whole lot better than those commercially made ones. So I thought, what can we do? Talked to my son, talked to my wife, and ultimately kind of came down to those that we're going to feed, how to figure it out. So I'll go walk over now, and I'll show you what we came up with. Because we just set up their temporary area for the sheep for the winter, because I was planning on making it a permanent area by fencing it all off. But I drove in 2 T-posts yesterday, and I think it took me 150 hits to get each T-post in, and it's not because I hit rock, it's because the ground was actually just that hard. So I quickly gave up on wanting to do T-posts. So we had some cattle panels here. We set up an area. You can look and see, got the sheep, and they're eating. There's a little bit of waste on the ground. I mean, just a little bit. But compared to what it has been in the past, see how they're still getting good mouthfuls of hay? It's just a good Bermuda hay bale. So I paid a little bit more for this than what I would for the cows. But I knew the grass in it would be finer and a little bit smaller. And what we've done is we've just taken one of those hog wire panels or cattle panels, whatever you want to call them, that are real flexible. They're 16 foot long. You can pick them up at, you know, Lowe's or Tractor Supply or any farm and feed store. And we just took it and completely encompassed the bale. And then I just held it together with a couple clips that you would to, you know, extend chain, like a chain link. And so far, from what I can tell, it's going to work amazing. Because those pieces, as far as the width of those, are actually wide enough where the sheep can stick their heads through. I don't think it would work for goats, because a lot of goats, I mean, if they don't have horns, that would be fine. But if they have horns, it'd be a problem, because then you get them stuck. So for animals that do not have horns, this to me seems like it's ideal. I don't know if you can see real well, but this sheep right here, she's starting to get a little wider, and her milk sack's actually starting to drop. So probably within the next 3 weeks, we're going to start having some baby lambs on the ground. That's another good reason to kind of prevent them from walking around so much and finding their food. We'd rather keep them cooped up before they start losing a bunch of weight by walking around looking for food. So hopefully you've got some other ideas what you've done in your homestead. If not, hopefully this will save you 2 years worth of searching like it did us. But the way we put that in there is we actually we rolled it off the back end of the trailer, rolled it over on its side with the netting around it, you know, that the actual hay net, and then we just put that panel around it, and then we simply went ahead and cut it all off. And then just pulled it out. There is enough room to go ahead and pull that off with very, very simple ease. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Hope your fall activities around your homestead are going real well. Or those of you that are thinking about homesteading, I hope this gives you some idea on success. And there's lots of people out there that are doing similar things, and I'm glad to see people sharing their knowledge. Thanks.